so, and that we have
Ready to go? All right, we'll go ahead and call this Tooele City Planning Commission meeting to order this Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. The hour is 7 p.m. First item on our agenda tonight is our Pledge of Allegiance. If you all please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next item on our agenda is a roll call. Commissioner Hammer?
Here.
Commissioner Newell?
Here.
Commissioner Sloan?
Here.
Commissioner Dunn?
Here.
Commissioner Jensen?
Here.
Commissioner Goches?
Present.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I am also here. Please excuse Commissioners Robinson and Commissioner Proctor. We recognize Council Members Manzione and Hanson, staff members Mr. Agard, Mr. Hall, Mr. Hanson, and Mr. Baker. Oh, and Mr. Stewart as well. Can't miss that redhead sitting right there. Number 3 on our agenda, and before I read this one, Commissioner Jensen would like to state something.
I need to recuse myself from the vote and the discussion on this because I'm involved with it. It's my wife's applicant, so.
Thank you for that, sir. So this one is a public hearing and a decision on a conditional use permit requested by Michelle Jensen to allow an increase in maximum lot coverage of accessory buildings for 0.69 acres of property located at 866 East Deer Hollow Road in the R114 residential zoning district. Wait for Mr. Hall to approach us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me tonight, and I'm welcome to everybody. And let me just go ahead and talk about this real quickly. This is the Jensen property is at 811 South Deer Hollow Road. It's about 0.69 acres of residential property. You can see it in the aerial there. Unbuilt lot. Some surrounding lots are built, some others are still vacant, like this property is. It is in the R114 zone. Adjacent to the east is R112, but there's mostly R114 around it, and the development has been compliant with that zoning. This request is related to a section of Tooele Code 714.6 sub 3 that does allow for greater coverage for accessory structures on a residential lot, more than the 8% that's allowed by code, strictly speaking. So what that means is this is just a shot of the property from this very cloudy, rainy morning. So this 0.69 acres, you can cover 8% of that property with accessory structures like garages or ADUs, for example, in this case. More than that is allowable, but only with the Planning Commission's recommendation or with the Planning Commission's conditional use permit for that exception. That request has been made based on their site plan and the plans for the home and the ADU and the garage that will cover just 9% as accessory structures as opposed to the 8%. So it's not a large increase. In looking at it as planning staff, we don't see any detrimental effects from it. We do feel like it meets the pertinent requirements of the ordinance or the considerations that the Planning Commission should take, and we have recommended approval. Do you have any questions for staff at this point?
All right, let's bring this back to the commission for questions for staff. Looks like we don't have any for you on this one.
Thank you very much.
This item does require a public hearing. Is the applicant in here tonight? Okay. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this particular item. If you'd like to speak to this one, please approach the podium, write your name for the record, and state your name for the audible record, please. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this particular item and bring it back to the commission for further action.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the conditional use permit request by Michelle Jensen to allow an increase in lot coverage by accessory structures, application number P23-1076, based on the findings subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated October 4th, 2023.
I got a motion to approve from Commissioner Sloan. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Hammer. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
No vote.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
And I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one passes 6-1 abstainment. Number 4 on our agenda tonight is a public hearing and a recommendation on an amendment to Tooele City Code 7-14 Table 5 regarding lot sizes within the fill-in area overlay zone. Amendments proposed by Robert Jalbert. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. This is an application for text amendment that was submitted by Mr. Jalbert, and he paid the fees to process this application, so we are bringing it through the process. This is not a proposal brought to you by staff. This is Mr. Jalbert's proposal. However, I'm going to do my due diligence on presenting this to you so you understand what he's asking for. And also take this as a quick moment to give you some training on a unique aspect of our ordinance that relates to our infill area overlays. You'll notice these maps on the overhead. We have Area B and Area A. They extend from 900 South up to 600 North and from Coleman Street over to 7th Street. These areas are typically the older areas of Tooele City, with homes having been built anywhere between 50 to 100 years ago. Many of these lots were created prior to our current zoning codes and zoning standards, and in many cases were created before there was even zoning at all in Tooele City. And so we have a lot of lots in this area that are of very unique configurations. Some of them are very long and very deep, very narrow. Some of them are just oddly shaped parcels, resulting from when they created lots with a handshake and a wink and a nod and go to the county and write something down. It doesn't work that way anymore today, as you know. But in order to facilitate and encourage development in these infill areas, these geographic areas were created, and what they do is they provide reductions in various development standards, such as setbacks, lot coverages, reductions in the cost of water for pay in lieu of, and that is done in order to encourage development inside the city, where we have existing roads, existing sewer systems, existing water systems already in place. It's much cheaper to develop on properties where those facilities exist versus a new development north of Lydiard's where there is no utility services and it's very expensive. So that's the purpose of the infill areas, is to encourage the development. Now, Mr. Jalbert owns some property located on the very west boundary of geographic area B of the infill area overlay. The arrow is pointing to his small property there. And some of the things that the infill area does provide, as I mentioned, is reductions in setback, reductions in lot coverage, reduction in the cost of water from the city for fee in lieu of, but it does not provide any reductions for lot size. Okay. Most of the area in the infill area is zoned R17, which is the city's predominant zoning district, and the zone requires a 7,000 square foot lot size minimum. Mr. Jalbert owns a property that is currently 0.28 acres or 12,196 square feet. As you can see, the property that he owns has an existing structure. I believe it's a small duplex dating back to the 70s. It was built in 71. But it's located to the far west corner of the property. And that leaves him with approximately 0.14 acres of property to the east where he could potentially put a house on the property. However, he doesn't have the sufficient 14,000 square feet which you would need in the R17 zone to subdivide. Now, the city has kind of a unique opportunity here. There are two options available to the applicant. Number one would be to change the R17 zone to allow lots smaller than 7,000 square feet. That would require rewriting the R17 zone, rewriting the definition to the zone, and changing the possible lot size for a lot of property within the city. But we also have the infill area overlay, and we could consider changing the lot size requirement in the infill area instead of having to tinker with the R17 zoning code. Those are really the only two options available to Mr. Jalbert in regards to subdividing this parcel. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do so. Rather than tinker with the R17, he chose to proceed with amending the infill area overlay qualifications. This request, as you can see on this aerial map, 0.14 acres is not unique in this area. This subdivision is full of many lots that are smaller than the .16 acres required by the R17, but many of them are .14 acres, which is exactly what Mr. Jalbert would be subdividing his lot into. So it's not a request that would be out of place for this area. The question, however, is if this were to be approved or adopted by the City Council ultimately, do we want to see this throughout the entire infill area? In analyzing this, I wanted to throw out what I could see as some benefits and possibly some detriments to this ordinance amendment. Some of the benefits you could see from doing this it would provide greater flexibility for lots that don't have quite enough acres to subdivide, but are a little bit bigger than the minimum lot size as required by the R17 zone. This would provide additional and slightly smaller lots, but would be serviced by existing infrastructure and could serve to reduce the cost of housing. If a lot doesn't have to be, if the cost of a road and the sewer and the water services is not included in the cost of the lot, it could reduce the cost of the home. And this, of course, would encourage more development within the infill area overlay, which is what the city would like to see. We would like to see more development. Without an amendment, this property would not be able to be subdivided. And so you'd have half that lot that, unless they raise the duplex, half that lot would sit unusable. Some of the detrimental aspects to this, when you reduce the lot size, which would, if you were to reduce it, as per the applicant's request, you'd be looking at a lot size of about 5,600 square feet instead of 7,000. That naturally will increase the density. So in doing the math, if you had a 1 acre parcel in the infill area overlay and you were wanting to subdivide using this text amendment, instead of yielding about 5 units per acre, you'd be yielding about 6. So if you came in with a 20 acre lot, which there are some of those in the infill, you'd be getting 20 units above and beyond what the R17 zone would allow. So it really yields about 1 extra unit per acre of development. I don't know if that's a significant number. That is an approximation because when you do a development, you have to account for at least 20% going to roads and stormwater basins and so forth. So, but that's my estimate. You'd be looking at a slight increase of density. And of course, where there's an increase in density, there's a greater demand on existing infrastructure. So can the existing sewer lines and existing water lines accommodate the increase in density were this to be approved? So what exactly is Mr. Jalbert asking for? He's asking for an additional column and table added to the Table 5 of Tooele City Code 7-14, which is the development standards for properties within the infill area overlay. And basically it's just simple. It just says lot size, and it says you may reduce to 80% of underlying zoning district, which would be 5,600 square feet for the R17 zone. Some of the infill area is zoned mixed-use Broadway. There aren't any lot size restrictions currently in that portion of it, so that wouldn't have any application. This also wouldn't have any application to the lot width requirements. So the lots would still have to be 60 feet wide, and the setbacks would already be addressed in this as per this table. So that's the nature of the request. He's just wanting to be able to subdivide a parcel that's slightly smaller than what the R17 permits, and he thought we'd take a chance and see what we can do with the infill. So this item does require a public hearing. We did post notices. I have not received any comments or feedback from anybody concerning this request. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
All right, let's bring this back to the commission for any questions for staff.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Jensen.
What does Tooele City consider a minor subdivision? Is that 4 lots or 3 lots?
Currently, our ordinance is 10 lots or less without public road dedication. So if there's any need for dedication of road, it's automatically a preliminary subdivision. But if it's 10 lots or less without any dedication, then it's a minor. And we're actually there's amendments proposed to our code to meet state standards. We're changing that to 6.
6 lots. I think this is a good idea, because I think it's good to utilize some of the property to infill it, like, the city wants to do. But if there was a concern about like a 20-acre parcel, maybe if the city council wanted to put a footnote in there just for minor subdivisions to do this 80% loss or reduction, that way you wouldn't get 20 acres of houses, 5 per, just to help kind of narrow it down so that we're not getting huge developments on smaller lots, just to split up some, like 1 acre, 2 acre lots, something like that. Just a thought.
With this being a legislative item, that is a wholly appropriate recommendation.
So, just a thought.
And I'm sure they heard you.
Nodding going on, I'm good with it.
Good, I like this idea because it doesn't just help with the overlay, but it helps with the housing crisis we're in with, hopefully, more affordable housing in spaces that are already developed. So it's not a bad idea.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question. if I
Yes,
could.
Commissioner Goches.
Mr. Agard, how does this affect the Broadway area? You said it doesn't. So if somebody in the Broadway area were to come and request something like this, does it have a separate designation? Because I just knew that there was geographic A and B. Is Broadway listed as a historic district? How is it listed?
The Broadway area does fall within geographic area, I think it was B.
Okay.
But the Broadway has its own zoning district. It has the MUB mixed-use Broadway. And that is a zoning district that's even more broad than the R17 because you can do multifamily residential, you can do single-family, you can do commercial and office. You could do residential upstairs and commercial on the bottom. And in that zone, there is no lot size requirement. So it's really a liberal zone to encourage development of all types. The infill area overlay doesn't really have much that could benefit the mixed-use Broadway area. So this amendment would not have any impact on those properties under that zoning district, only the ones that are zoned R17. And there aren't very many of them in the Broadway area.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, because we did have an applicant with a question in that Broadway area at one time, but has no bearing on this. So I just kind of wondered if there would be an impact if we made this type of decision on that one.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be any impact on the mixed-use Broadway.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Doesn't look like it. All right, is the applicant here tonight? Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this particular item. If you would, please approach the podium, state your name for the record, write your name for the record as well. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for any other further questions or discussion. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Jensen.
I move we forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the Tooele City infill area overlay text amendment request by Robert Jalbert for the purpose of reducing lot sizes by 20%. Reducing lot size by 20% for lots located in geographic areas A and B based on the following findings, I guess the staff report.
You want to add your
And
recommendation to
then,
that
yeah,
as well?
recommendation for the city council to maybe put a footnote for just minor subdivisions if you're worried about the larger subdivisions being on smaller lots.
All right, I've got a motion, a positive recommendation moving up to the city council from Commissioner Jensen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Dunn. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. That one is a positive recommendation. Next steps is the city council. Moves us down to number 5 on our agenda tonight, and I'll go ahead and make an announcement that I am the chairman of the Tooele Downtown Alliance. I don't think my decision tonight will affect this overlay, but I just wanted to make that well known for the record. But it is a public hearing and a recommendation on an ordinance of Tooele City adopting the downtown element, including the downtown master plan as amendment to the Tooele City General Plan. I got Mr. Stewart. Are you going to present it to us tonight?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commission. Happy to be here tonight. Something we've been working on for a while. And really, I think this is just a great opportunity to give a summary of the downtown master plan and what we're trying to do. And, you know, this isn't the first time you've heard about it, and something that we've been working on. And we wanted to not have a standalone plan, but to include this in the general plan. And we even used the same format that our general plan is in, just so it would fit nicely into that plan. Downtown's an important area in Tooele and in any community, and always has unique potential to act as a gathering place, act as a hub for economic development and activity, and historically was that way. And as you know, suburbs kind of expanded, sometimes downtowns have declined in their in the energy that's there and the economic activity that's there. So this plan is an effort to plan for improvements in our downtown, see what we can do to improve the sense of community that we have, the sense of gathering and vitality that we have in the downtown. As we go through this, I don't have slides really, but you should have this in your packet, and I want to note just things as we go through, things that are important maybe in this plan that have stuck out to me. You know, just on page 2 of it, there's a little list of things that we're already doing, right? We want this plan to be something that we proactively pursue, the strategies that are in this. So we're already working on things that are in this plan, both at a city level and as Downtown Alliance business owners, right? Tyson knows that, and as well as so many others that have been involved. We've added parking, right, right by Verges on the west side of Main Street there. We've been participating actively in the Utah Main Street program. We were one of 7 original communities that were in their top tier, and I love that we were in that because it kind of gave us a leg up as we started and as the state started that program. Part of our funding for that was used for art projects like the Buffalo, right? That part of that was funded through the Utah Main Street program grant funds and facade grants, right? Zacatecas, you may have noticed that they took off some of their stucco facade just over the weekend, and it's beautiful. It's stamped into the stone 1880, right? Which is older than I think any of us realized that building might be. So maybe Doug knew that. So yeah. Okay. So we're already working on some of these projects. You may notice there's a map on page 3 of this element that of the downtown, right? And there's really a couple different boundaries of downtown. You know, in code there's the downtown overlay, and then there's also the historic district, which was in 2019, the State Historic Preservation Office came and surveyed downtown and evaluated where the historic commercial district was. And that boundary is a little different from our downtown overlay. So we have, you know, 2 distinct boundaries with different purposes, really. The historic district is now listed on the National Register of Historic Places and is primarily a tool for property owners to receive rehabilitation tax credits if they apply for those and want to undergo significant improvements on their properties. We have one property owner already taking advantage of that. It's where Aspen Ridge used to be on Main Street. They're doing some significant renovations and will be receiving tax credits hopefully for those. So that's why there's 2 different boundaries. I get questions sometimes about those boundaries. So, and that's something that maybe could be addressed in the future is if there's a need to unify those, but really they have different purposes as well. So just things to point out. You know, we have in here vision and goals was really developed with a lot of input from the community and from the downtown businesses. We had several different workshops, one specifically for Hispanic business owners, one for just general business owners in the downtown, and a third one for staff and other key stakeholders. And along with that and a survey, we had a survey put out, and we had 613 responses to our survey that we put out for this plan, which I think was phenomenal, right? We don't often see that many responses on a survey, but there was a lot of interest. People care about our downtown, I think is what that means. So through that, we developed a vision, and we developed goals. Goal number one is improving Main Street, the actual street and the streetscape. A lot of that's working with UDOT. We had to get, for example, an agreement to put bison in the right-of-way. The right-of-way on Main Street goes all the way to the edge of the buildings in our historic downtown, which is tricky, and we didn't really expect to have to get an agreement with UDOT to put art projects out, but we did it, right? So that's part of it, working with UDOT to improve that. Not just, for art projects, but also safety, speed of travel, and making sure that there's crossings, that those are safe, and there's improvements we can make there and that we'll work with UDOT on. Goal 2 is visual appearance. Part of this could be looking at design standards, right? We actually have an intern that we just started working with from the University of Utah's City and Metropolitan Planning Program, who's going to help us draft design standards. So give it a few months. It's a student project. He's working on a master's. It's his master's thesis. A capstone project will be Tooele City, proposal for design standards. Water-wise landscaping. Andrew's put together a really cool plan, actually, of what we could do for landscaping and improvement to make it water-wise here at City Hall, and hopefully that's an example for other properties too. Goal 3 here is gathering places, right? A part of this is making Veterans Memorial Park into more of a gathering space, and making it a place where we can have a broader and sense of community that is developed there. Goal 4 has to do with land use, making sure we continue to allow housing and improve opportunities for housing. Housing's already allowed in above-store units, accessory dwelling units, and so we've already done things that are working towards that goal. But trying to think of other things that can be done to improve opportunities for housing and property owners. Goal 5, parking and connectivity. There's a lot of different parking lots actually in the downtown, but they're often owned by different people, and there's a challenge there in terms of, okay, how do we connect people to parking and make sure that you can find parking for the businesses that we need patrons to get to. So we have some great strategies in there. Part of that might be considering acquisition of privately owned parking lots, and some owners might be interested in that and in the city taking over parking, others may not. So there's a lot of factors there. That's a long-term goal, not something we expect to happen next week. So goal 6, make downtown a destination for activities and entertainment, right? Part of this is marketing for our downtown. When there's vacancies in storefronts, we want to make sure that we advertise those and try to get a diverse and interesting set of businesses in downtown, and something that brings people, right? Make it an experience for visitors and for residents. And on that note, a lot of this, any improvements that we make are probably primarily for residents, but also bring tourists. And, we hope to do that with some of our events. At the Downtown Fiesta that was about a month ago, really fun event. I talked to a woman who came, and she brought her 2 or 3 daughters and her mom all the way from Orem just for this event. Or it was American Fork, I think. But, really fun to see people coming for events, and they just heard about it on the radio. So kind of fun to see that sort of thing happen as well. We did get one public comment on this that I just want to address too. There was a comment that submitted that it hadn't been brought down to downtown businesses, and we really tried to reach out to businesses. So I think it's hard to make sure that everyone gets that message and gets those emails, but really we did try. We had multiple workshops. The survey, I noted some of those already, and this isn't the first time it's come before Planning Commission either. So, hopefully today and at City Council, as this goes in the future to them as well, that does give another opportunity for property owners and others to come and participate. Second part of that public comment was rehab apartments. There was a proposal to change the zoning, but that was not approved by the City Council. So rehab apartments are not allowed, and so I think there's just some misunderstanding there. You could do a rehab activity and have people come to your property but not live on your property, as allowed in the zoning. So, and I think that's everything I have. Hopefully I didn't talk too much, but hopefully I gave you information you needed. I'm happy to answer any questions or open to any feedback you have on the plan.
If you're like me, we could talk all day about our downtown, huh? It's my favorite place to be.
I think I'm like you, yes.
All right, let's bring this back to the commission for any other further questions or comments. Yes,
Jared, like
Commissioner
to comment.
Goches.
I had a chance to talk to Jared about this today because I'm really excited about the Zacatecas building, if that's how you say that, Zacatecas. That is a beautiful building, and I took dance lessons upstairs in that beautiful ballroom. That's one of those, features that were in the 1800s, and it's just a beautiful building. I'm so excited to be able to see that to be preserved, and the building facade is going to be gorgeous. So excited about that, and all of the things that the stakeholders have done. I was the chairman of the Tooele City Arts Council for years, and have a lot of experience in public events, and drawing people into the city center is really important. And so I'm really excited to be able to have walking paths and people that will bring people in. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something.
Commissioner Newell.
So I had the opportunity to live in another country for, seemed like forever. And they had a lot of things that were odd and different from America. But one of the things that they had in every town or city is what they called a peatonal, which was just, it's like Vine Street was for the day of fiesta or whatever it was, where it's just all walking. There's no driving allowed or anything. Kind of like Gateway was supposed to be, but and it's just allowed people just to walk up and down and see the stores and be a part of it and not have to worry about the traffic and whatnot. And it was great, and it was a huge draw, and people came in from the country, the campo, and they would come in and they would just spend evening there, and they'd have cafes and they'd have sports stores, they'd have stuff like that, and it was really family friendly and stuff like that. And so to keep that in mind, I think that would be great. And second is, I know you had plans for the parking, but something needs to be done, because even the existing parking, even if it's owned by private individuals, doesn't seem to be upkept. And there's, places where you could lose a vehicle, places you may think you have to park one way and it's not, so the marking's not very well. But so even if they don't want to relinquish their ownership, which I understand, maybe some efforts to encourage their upkeep. Because that's one of the nice things about like Park City and whatnot, is they really did their due diligence and their work on making sure that it was a family-friendly place, and a commuter or people wanting to draw people there instead of scaring them away.
What Jared failed to tell you is one of those potholes, we're developing a new swimming pool. The cheap way.
It'll start as a hot tub though, so, and grow, so.
That's great input. Commissioner Newell, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comment for Jared?
That's great.
All right. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This one does require a public hearing as well, so I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this particular item. If you want to speak about the downtown master plan, please approach the podium. State your name for the audible record. Write your name for the record as well, please. You guys are quiet tonight. Seeing no one approach, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this one and bring it back to the commission for further action.
Mr. Chairman, I'm a little unclear exactly on what the motion needs to be, other than do we forward a positive recommendation to the city council?
Yes, that's what it
For
says here.
acceptance of the plan as it's been submitted?
Unless we have other ideas, yep. They just need a
We
recommendation.
need a 6-story parking garage. Can I put that in?
No,
No? All right, well,
Underground parking.
in your own yard, yeah.
it's not a bad idea. Then I would move that we forward a positive recommendation to the city council based on the information that's been provided in the presentation this evening.
Okay, I've got a positive recommendation from Commissioner Sloan. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Goches. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan? Aye. Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I am Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. This one passes with the positive recommendation going up to the City Council, 7-0. Moves us on to number 6 on our agenda tonight is a recommendation on a preliminary subdivision plan request for 1 O'Clock Hill by SJ Company to subdivide approximately 178 acres located at approximately SR 36, which is Main Street, and Settlement Canyon Road in the R17 residential zoning district. Mr. Agard.
Thank you, Commissioners. You may be familiar with this property as it was rezoned to R17, I would say approximately a year and a half, or maybe a little bit more than that in the past. The property is actually 178 acres, but only 38 acres of the property is proposed for development. The remaining 140 acres is located in areas with tremendous slope that is essentially undevelopable and will remain undeveloped. So this that you see on the aerial photograph is essentially the only part of the property that is developable or that has development potential. The property sits southeast of SR 36, north of 1220 South, and then south of Settlement Canyon Road. Some existing structures next to the property are the existing Masonic Temple, there at the intersection of Settlement Canyon and SR 36, and the state road facilities as well as the city's public workshops are across the street. And then we have 7 acres of property there at 3 o'clock that are currently residential and are not participating in this development. So they account for the jog in the property. The property is zoned R17, and when it was rezoned, it was also removed from the sensitive area overlay. So it's just R17. You'll note that there's some RR1 zoning and some MU160 located to the southeast. That zoning, both of those zones are holding zones for areas that really don't develop or have much development potential. So to the north, we have some general commercial and some MR12, some R17, and then some R112 zoning. So there's a handful of zones surrounding the property. The subdivision in of itself does propose to develop some fairly complicated property. In your staff report, I included the summaries from the various studies that the applicant provided as part of the zoning map amendment. There was a rock fall hazard study, there was a fault study, a geotechnical study that was provided, and those summaries were included in the reports. The subdivision itself proposes to subdivide the 38 acres that's developable into 134 single-family residential lots, ranging in size from 7,000 square feet up to about 14,000 square feet. And there are proposals for 4 points of access into the subdivision. Those points of access they line up with the existing 3 o'clock drive, with the existing 900 South. There's one that's located between Coleman Street and 900 South at about the entrance to the city's public works shops. And then there's a proposed access onto Settlement Canyon Drive. The lots that are proposed within the subdivision all meet or exceed the minimum lot size requirements and lot width requirements for the R17 zoning district. So the lots all comply with the zoning code. All roads within the subdivision are proposed to be public streets, and so they will include the necessary amount of asphalt and then curb, gutter, park strip, and sidewalk, typical to what you see on a standard public street. There is an existing city well facility. It's located there at the southwest corner. The subdivision does propose to maintain access to that well facility, so it should not be impacted by the development if not approved. Now, there'll be an asphalt street providing access to that well facility instead of a gravel road. Stormwater detention basins within the subdivision will be privately owned and maintained. The applicant does not intend to dedicate those to the city. We are happy with that. We're always happy when an applicant's willing to maintain their own basins. So that's a good thing there. If you recall, there are numerous Rocky Mountain Power distribution and transmission lines that crisscross the property. This is an aerial map that was provided by the applicant that shows the current locations of those power transmission lines. The applicant has been working diligently with Rocky Mountain Power to relocate those power lines. And what they are proposing, what Rocky Mountain Power is proposing, is that the power line going down the center of the property will either be shifted and combined on the same poles to the southeast, and then the transmission line located closer to SR 36 will be moved closer, if not into, the UDOT right-of-way. So they are working with Rocky Mountain Power to relocate those lines. Rocky Mountain Power will not give them an approval until the city has approved a preliminary plan. And Tooele City has been asking them to get Rocky Mountain approval because we won't approve your preliminary plan without Rocky Mountain Power approval. So it's kind of a chicken and egg situation here. And so the applicant's done the best they could, and we decided to go ahead and get preliminary plan approval done for them so they can get Rocky Mountain Power to finalize their transmission line relocation. So when the property came through the zoning map amendment, it was presented to the Planning Commission and City Council at the time that there would be a trail extending pretty much the entire length of the subdivision. And on this map, which was presented during that zoning map amendment, you can see the trail highlighted in kind of a lighter gray. We've been working with the applicant in regards to this trail, and as the studies have developed and the work within the subdivision has developed, it's not as black and white. It's just, we're just going to put a trail there. There's some unique slope issues and some unique geographic conditions. So we've had to get a little creative in regards to how we do the trail system. And this is what's being proposed, and we believe it satisfies what was requested in regards to the trail. The northern half is proposed to be a 10-foot gravel trail that will extend from Settlement Canyon down to about the midpoint of the subdivision, where it will be a 10-foot gravel trail. At that point, it will transition to a 10-foot asphalt trail, which will be part of the public right-of-way. So instead of a park strip and a sidewalk, you'll just have 10 feet of asphalt, which will connect to the gravel. When you get to the end of the asphalt, it will then transition again back to a 10-foot gravel. But at the back of the 7-acre property, there's an existing 2-track gravel road that Rocky Mountain Power uses to access their power facilities, their transmission line facilities with their vehicles. That will continue on with the trail, and then it will it will turn into that southern portion of the development. The applicant has stated they'd be willing to improve that 2-track gravel road to make it more like a trail. So we believe this satisfies that requirements as part of the zoning for the trail, and that they've done their due diligence in regards to this. This, as I mentioned, this subdivision does develop some fairly unique property. There's some significant geological issues involved. And as part of the preliminary plan, staff wanted to make sure that we included conditions of approval that could be addressed during each phase of the final plat. They're proposing 4 phases for their final plats. And I just wanted to go over these conditions. They're not listed in your staff report. However, the staff report does have a condition that refers to a document or an exhibit within the staff report where these conditions are found. So number 1, the easement must be provided for all portions of the trail which lie outside the boundaries of any of the subdivision plats. The Planning Commission should indicate the portions and timing for completion of the trail with each of the 4 proposed phases. So we want to make sure that the trail has an easement so that it's always going to be there, that it doesn't get absorbed or overtaken by another property owner. Number 2, the final subdivision plan must include details on the trail construction, drainage crossings, and all trail improvements, as well as location of fences separating the trail from any lots. This is an issue we can easily deal with during the final plat with each phase. Number 3, the preliminary plans show multiple power lines crossing the site with no reference to their relocation plans or vacation of their easements. The developer and Rocky Mountain Power have indicated their intent to relocate the power lines from the interior lots to a location parallel to the easternmost line and also along SR 36 as shown on the following Google Earth image provided by the developer. The final subdivision plan must incorporate the relocated lines and address new and vacated easements. Condition number 4, Phase 1 of the preliminary plat references a 15-foot wide trail easement shown along the northern boundary of Lot 107. So going back to the trail plan, Lot 107 is where the trail turns into the southern quadrant of the subdivision. It is recommended that the trail easement be created as a separate parcel with public access rather than part of a recorded lot. By creating a separate parcel, it will ensure the side yard setback of the home on Lot 107 will meet city standard rather than potentially being placed immediately adjacent to the trail. It is also noted that at the same location that the water and sewer laterals for Lot 107 should be adjusted so as not to conflict with the trail construction or limit their access for repairs. So what we're wanting to see there is just a 10-foot parcel and then the private lots. So that way the home maintains separation so that when people are walking by on the trail, we don't receive phone calls from the homeowner, there's somebody right outside my window. We want to make sure there's some separation. The best way to handle that would be to have a parcel there instead of an easement. Number 5, it's recommended that the developer create a public access easement and construct a connection to the proposed trail from the future public right-of-way between lots 311 and 312. A drive approach should also be constructed within this area for city vehicles to access its property and the well. That refers to the city's well property and the large piece of ground in front of it. We're just proposing that there be a connection from the sidewalk to the trail. That way so people can just walk back there without having to walk through mud or anything of that nature. So it's just a trail connection to where the city's well property is. And then number 6, as part of the final plans, the developer must address who will maintain the park strip of landscaping of any portions of right-of-way not fronting a lot or stormwater basin. So there are some sections where the park strip and the sidewalk are not adjacent to a single-family residential lot. We want to make sure that those park strips are maintained or addressed. And then number 7, as noted above, the 10-foot trail has been added conceptually to the plans as part of the final plat submittal. The grading plans will need to be modified to accommodate trail construction as well as provide stabilization plans of all disturbed slopes. And then number 8, where there are 4 phases planned, phase 1 being to the south and phase 4 being to the north, it is noted that each phase must be capable of standing alone. such as water loop, blow-off valves, secondary roadway connection, etc. With these requirements, it may be necessary to construct improvements beyond the limits of the respective phase line. Paved cul-de-sacs will be required for all dead-end roads created as part of the phase construction. And then number 9, as part of the final plat consideration, the water modeling which is being performed by the city's consultant, we need to verify that the proposed connection to the existing 6-inch diameter water line adjacent to the retention pond 5 along SR 36 will meet flow demands. If it does not, then the water line size and new connection point should be modified as required. These are boring, I apologize. Number 10, the sidewalk and curb and gutter should be extended 10 foot east of Lot 409 along Settlement Canyon Road in order to allow connection to the 10-foot trail, which commenced at this point and runs south along the rear lots of the proposed homes. And that refers to where the trail connects to Settlement Canyon. We just want to make sure that the sidewalk is extended so that, again, people who utilize the trail don't have to walk through weeds or mud. So we're recommending approval of the preliminary plan with these 10 conditions, as well as the basic conditions we always put into our staff reports. And so there's a lot here. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer those for you. I know that Paul knows quite a bit about the subdivision, so ask away.
Well, I'm not bored. I'm geeked out by this. This is fun. Let's bring this back to the commission for further questions or comments. Commissioner Sloan?
I guess just a general question. You just went through 10 conditions. Has the applicant been made aware of these conditions, and is that discussion taking place?
I emailed the applicant the staff report as well as a PDF of these conditions this morning. Hopefully he received those. I did send them to him. I did not receive a confirmation of receipt, though.
We'll ask the applicant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes?
Mr. Chair, can I ask
Commissioner
a
Goches?
question? I'm really confused on the trail. So, I'm glad that you still have this map up that shows there's going to be portions of asphalt trail and then gravel trail. At any point, is the gravel trail going to also be asphalt, or is it always going to be maintained as a gravel trail?
The portions of the gravel trail are being left gravel because of the slope that exists where the trail is proposed. In order to do the asphalt trail, that would require quite a bit of cut and fill, and cut and fill results in slope stabilization issues. And so where the gravel trail is, it would be more on top of the grade instead of cutting into the grade. And where it's asphalt, they're more able to cut into the grade. So that's the reasoning behind the asphalt versus the gravel.
Okay, so from what I can see, I can't really tell. Can you access it by bike? Is it walkable? Is it ATV?
It's 10 feet
who
wide.
can use it?
It could be bike. It could be, I hope there's no ATVs on it because they tend to chew up the surface and ruin it. It's definitely walkable, runnable. It'll be a good wide trail for all types of users.
And we'll be able to run on the gravel.
Yeah. Yep. As a runner myself, I don't mind running on gravel.
Okay.
It's actually better than asphalt. So.
Just as a point, I believe the engineer of record indicated that the maximum grade on that trail is anticipated to be up to 10%, which is what our city streets are allowed to be constructed to. So it's certainly passable. It just would not be ADA compliant.
Okay.
Any other
Excellent
questions from
questions,
the
thank you.
commission? Thank you, Commissioner Goches. Appreciate that. Yes, Commissioner
Chairman, I
Hammer.
have a question. Where UDOT is not in favor of a sidewalk and landscaping along Main Street there on SR 36, what will that look like? Just fencing and?
Yeah, you'll just see a concrete precast fence. Probably have that, that decorative stone stamped pattern to it. I think a good example of that would be what you see along Stansbury Park. When you're driving on SR 36 and you have the 6-foot sound wall and then you just have native growth. I think you'll have something similar to that.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent questions.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Now's the time.
I'll just make one comment,
Yes.
if you don't mind. I'm just glad that there are so many studies that have been included because this piece of property has caused a lot of concern. And so, I guess the proof is in the report. So I guess I'm just glad to see that the due diligence has been done to provide the proof. So thank you for that.
Yes, the applicants put a lot of work
applicant.
and resources into this subdivision, so.
Any more questions, comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion on number 6 on our agenda. Gonna blow it up, put your glasses on.
Yes, seriously. Remember, I'd go back to 1888, apparently.
Mr. Chairman, I move we forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the 1 o'clock Hill preliminary subdivision plan request by Sean Johnson, representing the SJ Company, application number P22-1001, based on the finding and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report dated October 5th, 2023, along with those added in the PDF conditions.
Okay, I've got a positive recommendation with the recommended conditions the staff provided with us from Commissioner Newell. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Sloan. Any discussion on this before we vote? Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton. I vote aye. This one goes up to the City Council for next steps. All right. Moves us to number 7 on our agenda tonight is our City Council reports.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you. I wanted to remind everybody that we are having a groundbreaking for Fire Station number 3 on Saturday. So if you're not out looking at the eclipse, be sure to stop by and check out and go to the groundbreaking for the fire station.
We have
Excited
those
about
cool
that.
little plastic fireman hats that you hand out to the kids.
I don't know. Will we?
We can get you one.
Okay. For you, special. A couple of things from our meeting last week. Just a reminder that it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so keep that in mind this month. And it's unfortunate that we have to have a Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but we do. We also visited the request for deviation from design standards for the towns at Mountain View. That was a negative recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. We also denied that request. We are still looking into the standards and, possible change to the ordinance. And then we did an amendment to the city code in regards to camping. And we paid a lot of money for garbage cans and dispatch fees. Both necessary things. And that's all I have to report from our meetings. Any questions?
What changed with camping?
We defined camping in the code so that before it was kind of a loose definition, more defined as to what is camping and what is not.
It's related to the problem with homeless people camping in alleys and streets and along the tracks and in people's yards actually too, so
Yeah.
it's to try and
Help with that.
define that so that the officers have ability to do what they need to do.
Thank you.
Any other questions for City Council?
Only a comment. if
Yes, please.
That's okay. Just that you mentioned the eclipse and that you can get the safety glasses at the library, 2 per household, so that's pretty cool.
That is true. I got those through a grant, I believe, so it's great. Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Thanks.
appreciate it. All right, moves us to number 8 on our agenda tonight is a review and approval of Planning Commission minutes for the meeting held on September 27th, 2023. Are there any additions or corrections? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
A motion to approve from Commissioner Goches. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second from Commissioner Jensen. Commissioner Hammer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Newell?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloan?
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn?
Aye.
Commissioner Jensen?
Aye.
Commissioner Goches?
Aye.
I'm Chairman Hamilton. I also vote aye. Mr. Agard?
I'd just like to take a moment and announce that we're losing one of our commissioners. Commissioner Newell is leaving the commission. He's leaving our fair city and moving on to greener pastures. I just wanted to publicly thank him for his service, although I don't know if Price is greener than Tooele. But I wanted to thank him for his service. Sad to see him go. He had some good contributions to the commission, and wish you best luck in your new location. So.
Thank you.
Looks like we got 5 new applicants in the back of the room too, so.
Can I take a picture? I never see 5 realtors in a room together.
And they're not fighting.
That quiet.
And they're getting along. And
All right, Commissioner Noel, we appreciate all your help and your support and your service to what you've been doing. We appreciate it. Your input's been valuable. Thank you. All right, moves us on to number 9. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you, Commissioner Sloan.